everybody, Dave G, electricreviews.com. I am here to finalize the mods on this RX200 that so far we have swapped the chip out for a DNA. We have stripped and polished the front and back plates. We have painted the body, which didn't turn out too well the second time I dipped it, and actually I just wiped the paint off and spray painted it, and it's just been flaking off ever since. So at this point what we're gonna do is fix that little nuisance of your addies not fitting all the way down and being a little loose or lopsided. What we're gonna do is replace that 510. So let's go to the tools and then we'll dive down and we'll start taking apart the mod. Okay, for the tools you will need, of course, a drill. You will need a drill bit big enough to take out that 510, at least widen it a little bit. These are miscellaneous tools that you may possibly need: some clippers, hemostats, scissors. This is 20 gauge wire that I have. You will need your 510. Make sure it's a low profile. You'll need some solder wick, you'll need some solder, you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, very small, and you'll need the Torx bit. You'll also need a Dremel with either a sanding bit or the grinding bit. You'll need an extra mod that you can vape on, and you'll need a soldering iron. Okay, if you've been watching the series up until now, you'll know how to do this. It's simple. What I'm gonna do is pull this off, get the soldering iron away so we don't burn ourselves. This is where you'll take the Torx bit. Now you can see those 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll take those out first. Now you got a gold screw in there and one up here. And we just push that up. Get that top screw out. Gold screw is going to come out, but probably going to fall in there. Okay, it's fell in there. Let's go ahead and pull this front screen off. Be very careful you don't rip your screen connection here. There we go. That is removed. Now with the RX200 you're going to notice a little bit different. That screen won't be taped like that. This is the DNA swap, and you got to check out the other videos and you'll be up to speed on what exactly is going on here. She got this gold screw here. Take that one out. Taking all the screws out. We'll just ease this little bad boy out. We're going to want to desolder these 2 points. Alright, so we should be disconnected fully from the board. We have the 1 solder point right there. That's the positive connection. We will desolder that also. Now, this sled should pop right out of there. And there's your 1 screw right there. Get that out so you don't lose it. And here we are. Back to the inside. And there's the crappy 510. The old crapster. We'll get this last gold screw out of here. Last gold grounding screw. Should be good to pop out. And then you're gonna just fight with this until you get it out. And there we are. So we got the body, we got the board out. At this point, I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to go sand and repaint this, and I'll come back with a freshly painted body and we'll get to work on this. Okay, well, at this point I figured there's really no sense in me painting it completely, so I just primed it. What we're going to be doing is drilling there, of course, and I don't want to be scratching up a brand new paint, so let's start drilling. Fuck. I think that's probably plenty. This fucker will fit in there. Looks like it's going to take just a little bit more. That should have got it. Okay, so that's good. Second stage we're going to do is file these ridges down here. We're going to get those gone, and then what we're going to do is dig out these 2 channels that the original 510 went into. You can see those right here. So this is going to be flat, and this is going to be flat. I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll come back to it and we'll check it out. Okay, after a little bit of grinding, those 2 ridges are ground off there. 510 fits in. It's pretty good. Looks pretty goddamn good. I only nicked it once. So my advice to you is take it slow. I mean, you can take metal off, but you can't put it back on. Remember that. So I'm just going to clean this hole up, get these two chunks of crap off here, and then we'll do a little modification on the battery sled. This piece here that holds the back side of the 510 in needs to come out, and I'll just shave that out. So I'll be back and we should be ready to put it in and probably solder up the board. So we'll see you then. Okay, so I was right. It was a bad idea to spray paint this before I drilled that out, drilled it down. There's also that, which I did with this carbide bit. I just got that in there and just chewed that shit out. It's nice and smooth. I also ran that carbide bit around here. And I also use the little carbide bit to kind of fine tune and scrape off the paint on those contact points, because that's what I will be grounding the board to. So I don't want any interference between paint. I also scrape that one off there. I am going to go repaint this again right now, although I kind of like the look of this primer. Always like primer gray. This is a self-etching primer, so I might just paint it with that shit and leave it. So I'm going to go sand this, paint it. We'll come back when it's nice and dry. Actually, while it's drying, we'll work on getting this connected up to this and this. Okay, so it looks like I went with the blue paint, huh? Let's go ahead and desolder this 510 off of here. So we get that off, we'll clean this solder up a little bit. So we're all cleaned up, and pretty much the only connection we're going to make is the positive to the positive pin of the 510. Once the mod is done drying, we'll come back to that. We'll do the installation of the board, the 510, and we'll complete the process. Also, we got to dig out a little bit of this battery sled, so we'll do that in due time. So you notice I took the positive pin out of this plastic part, because if you don't, you're gonna melt that fucker. So you'll see here once this cools down a little bit. Ouch. This and this are gonna go right over top of it. And then screw onto this. Of course, this is going to need to be in the mod here. Okay, so what I've done is basically I could press this spring here, hook that with a pair of hemostats, soldered that 510 to the positive wire to the bottom of this post here, and I've soldered it to the board. That's the out on the DNA board. And what I'm going to do here is put this over top of the wire, and my plastic is in there. The 510 is in, sits pretty good. So what we want to do is put this in properly. Let's go this way. There we go. At this point, you'll need to drop your button in. Just nut back on here. And what I'm going to do is put a screw in there just to hold this board in place. That is dropped in. Just gonna loosen that up a little and center that 510 a little better. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so that is pretty much complete. Let's chew out a little bit on this. Doesn't have much, it's just got a little bit of space it needs to get that screw to the hole here, just a little bit. So I think that should do it right there. It's probably more than enough. Actually came into the battery sled just a little bit. I did not want to do that, so I probably went down further than I needed to. Let's go ahead and put all these wires back in. Okay, so we got the 510 on there. Ultimately what I did was I finished that one connection and put the battery sled back in. There was plenty of room for it to slide in with cutting that little notch out of the top, probably right about in here. Faceplate's on. Check atomizer, it says. And everything sits nice and flush. Looks like there's a little bit of a gap there, so there's going to be a little bit of adjustment here. And once I figure out what the hell that is, then just want to show you that this does work. As soon as I'm going to take this back apart and we'll figure out what the hell this is causing this. I have a feeling it's just not going back far enough. So let me dig into that, and then I probably gonna repaint this again because I screwed the paint up fighting with this. Fuck me. So what I ended up having to do was take the battery back out, or the battery sled back out. I had a little space right here which the cover would not let me close all the way. It was probably stuck right about in there. So what I did is I took it off and I ground out a little more around the inside. You can see it right there. So I ground it pretty close to that screw that's on the top of this battery sled, and it seems to fit pretty well. There's a little bit of a gap, but to fix that is what I did was I just put the cover on, squeezed it, and put that screw in. And I did the same on the bottom, and as you can see, it's pretty damn tight. So I'm going to get the front cover on, polish this thing up, and see how the performance with the new 510, and we'll talk about whether it's worth it or not. Alright, final take. My impression is that this 510 is definitely worth the effort if you want a good connection on your atomizer. You don't want it wobbling around. Ultimately, it doesn't really improve performance of the power going through the atomizer. Well, I guess it could, because there's a better connection there. So ultimately, if you do decide to do it and you do have any questions, just be sure and comment on the video. Give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. Check out my other videos. I think we've taken this RX as far as it can go without sticking a lipo and turning it into a mech mod or something. But I don't want to do that. So I'm going to polish this baby up, take a final picture, and we'll see you next time.